Melissa Hubbard, and I come to you today from the Washington, D.C. area. I'm a project manager for a company called Witham Digital. We're also in the Washington, D.C. area. And today I'm going to talk about one of my very favorite flow topics, and that is approvals. So, lost my clicker. We are going to talk about how to automate your approval processes with Flow, ways you can review your approval requests, because there are several different ways you can approve, and also the Flow Approval Center. And at the end, we're going to have a lot of demos. So, does everyone know that Flow's new name is Power Automate? Okay, just so you know, it has been renamed as of the beginning of this conference to Power Automate, but I'm going to still be using the term Flow in this session. But just so you know, going forward, I will be saying Power Automate when I give sessions. All right. So why do I love talking about approvals in Flow so much? I think it's because it's really helped me drive the nail into a lot of clients as to why they should automate their business processes, because approval processes tend to be really tedious and annoying and unorganized, and sometimes they're just a really simple sign-off, sometimes they're more complex, and automating these things with Flow really can show a business how much time you can save and how much more organized you can be. So then it gets the wheels turning on other business process automation solutions that they should be doing. Approvals I see as a gateway into other flows. So they're really one of my favorite things to talk about. So what is Flow? Who here has built a flow? Okay, a lot of you, great. So just really quickly then, Flow is a cloud-based business process automation tool. It spans across over 230 different services. So this is not just a Office 365 tool. It's not just a Dynamics tool. It's not just a Microsoft tool. You can connect with a ton of different services, including ServiceNow, MailChimp, SQL Server, just a ton to even try to name. It's built on JSON code, but the UI allows for citizen developers to be able to do quite a bit without having to write code. However, when you get into more complex scenarios, there is still a need for that developer mindset. I'm not a developer. I'm definitely a power user, and I get to certain points with Flow where it's out of my skill set. So I'd say it's a little bit for everyone. There's some really simple things you can do, and there's some really complex things you can do. So when we look at the main business cases, the main things we're trying to achieve with Flow, and we really simplify it, a lot of the time we're trying to get notifications to people when something's happened that they need to know about. That could be in a Teams message, that could be in an email, it could be an alert on their mobile app. Flow has a very robust mobile app. You can create flows, do many, many things right from your phone in Flow. Copy files, move files, delete files, do things with your files. Collect data and move data, combine data. These are all things that Flow can do. And automate approvals, which is what we're going to focus on today. But really, when we think about it, these are repeatable, kind of mundane tasks that take us out of what we're working on and have us doing this thing that really could be automated. So that's really the great part about Flow, and that's where you're going to really see a return of investment when you start creating these things and showing how quickly you can save time. The main components of a flow, we'll start with connectors. So connectors are the services that Flow's connecting with. It's technically a wrapper around an API that lets Flow talk to that service. So you're going to need an account to log into a service when you're going to connect it with a Flow. Triggers. Triggers are what start your flow. So something needs to happen to start your business process automation. There's a few different types of triggers, and the next slide shows them. Conditions is where you can add your business logic. Not all flows have conditions, but many of them do. So an example is I submit a form, and I only want the form to be reviewed by the business manager if the amount I'm requesting for a project is over $5,000. So I could write that condition into my flow. If amount is greater than or equal to $5,000, send it to the business manager. This is where you're adding your logic, and things can become more complex. And actions will really tell you whether the flow you've created is successful or not. It's what you want it to do. It's what you're trying to accomplish. So your actions, you can have more than one. You can have many actions in your flow, but this is what you want your flow to be doing. So the 4 types of flow are really based mostly on the trigger. There's scheduled flows, which are triggering based on a schedule that you set. This is really, really powerful. If you're familiar with doing business process automation in the past, for me, I come from a SharePoint designer background where I know we used to have to do timer jobs, things like that. Now it's really simple. You just type in the days and the schedule and the flow, and it'll run on that schedule. Instant flows can come in 2 ways. They can come as buttons. So buttons, on your mobile app, you can have buttons that you press, and a business process will automatically start. An example of one that I have is a button for a QA team who's out in the field, maybe at like a construction zone, and they take a picture of a defect that they see or a problem that they see, and then they press a button, and now they can quickly fill in a few data entry things like the location, who found it, add the picture, and then send it in an email to the boss. Or you could even send it into Teams in an adaptive card. So that's an instant flow. Also, in SharePoint and in Excel, you can select a row or select an item and run a process instantly like that. So that's what we think about instant flows. Automated flows are starting when something in the service happens, like a new item is added, a document is updated, file properties change, those types of things. A new tweet is posted with a certain hashtag. These are some of the different automated flows that you can have that are running when something happens in a service. Business process flows are totally different than these other 3, and I'm not going to cover them today. There's sessions about business process flows here at Ignite, but basically they allow you to set stages with different steps and connect with the common data service. So I'm not going to cover them today, but they're definitely worth looking into if you have time on your schedule while you're here. The thing I really like about approvals and why I think they're so powerful is that you get so many options that are really easy to configure. So not only can you manage approvals across all of these different services, but you can also customize them in a lot of different ways. So if you have an approval process where a first-line manager needs to approve something and then it gets sent to a second-line manager, you could have a sequential approval, and you could have that approval do something. If they reject it, send an email back to the person who originated the request, something like that. So a sequential approval is they're coming one after another. You can have a parallel approval where once your flow is triggered and you want to send an approval to 2 different groups, maybe your HR group and your project management group, you can have that happen at the same time and have these separate branches that don't really impact each other. You can also configure when you have a group of people listed as approvers, if you want them all to have to make a decision, or if you want to just go with the first person who makes a decision, so you can decide that. Also, it keeps going, so if you don't think that the terms approve and reject really make sense for your business. Maybe you've got some paperwork and you want it to, it's not really approved or rejected. It's either complete or incomplete or should be sent back. You can add these custom options and then have actions happen based on which one is picked. And that's really powerful. You can easily email the requester, you can reassign flow approvals, and you can also copy a link and use them and send them on other ways. So approval templates are pre-made approval flows. They're really easy to configure. If you go to flow.microsoft.com into the Flow app, you'll be able to click on templates and see them all. You can search by service or by action that you want to take. And the great thing is that it gets your wheels turning on what's possible, and they're really easy to configure. You do have to have the services that template is going to connect with. So if you pick a template that connects with ServiceNow and you don't have a ServiceNow account, that's not going to work for you. But besides that, they're really easy to set up, and not only that, you can make modifications to them. So if you want to add some conditions or add some business logic, you can just start adding steps in there and it doesn't break anything. You can request to have a template that you use added to the gallery. They're only probably going to approve it if there's really a reason why many people in the world would use this template, because you can't customize it just for your organization. The template gallery is the template gallery for everyone in the world. So here are the 3 approval actions. There's create an approval, start and wait for an approval, and wait for an approval. So really the main difference is if you want to create an approval and then have your flow continue doing some other steps and not wait for the response, then you can just do create an approval. If you want it to start and then wait for the responses, then you do start and wait for an approval. If you're wanting to make an adaptive card out of your flow approval, I'll remind you this again, but you need to use the create an approval action. I'm not sure why, but you do. So there's actually some really simple approvals that are built right into SharePoint. So I do have a love of SharePoint, again, that I come from a SharePoint background, and there's some flows that are built into the modern experience. Again, I'll say modern, not in classic lists. And those are request sign-off, content approval, and page approval. The request sign-off flow allows you to select, if you choose as the site owner to configure this, you can select an item or select a document, hit that drop down on the flow top bar, and run request sign-off, and then you can choose who you want to send it to, and then it'll record the response. So those are really meant for those kind of ad hoc situations of, hey, I really just need someone to look at this. And instead of having to write them an email and send a link, I'm just going to click on it and hit this drop down and send it to them, and it'll be recorded right there in the list. Content approval means that it won't, so a document actually won't post until it's approved. And page approval is the same thing, where you set actual approvers and they get sent a notification when a new page is submitted, and then that page, if it's approved, will be published if it is approved automatically with Flow. So I've talked about all of the options for how you can create approval flows to meet your business needs. Now let's talk about all of the ways you can review your approval requests. Because we all know that we're working in different ways. A lot of us are working in teams and getting a lot of our work done. Some of us are still kind of stuck in our email, or maybe we don't have teams yet at our organization. Others of us are on the go all the time, and we're really on our mobile phone working. So all of these options are at your fingertips. So here's what it looks like when you get an approval email. On the left is the email that you'll get. So you'll see who it was requested by, the date, some details, maybe a link to the item that you need to review, and then you can take action. So you can click approve or reject, and it'll allow you to enter in comments. One thing that you can't do is force comments, or at least I have not found a way to do it. But that's how it is for now. Once you take action, your email will automatically clean up, and it'll say you've already completed this request. From the mobile app, the image on the left shows how it looks when you click on approvals, and it'll show you all the ones you have waiting, and you can click approve or reject, and respond means that they have those have custom responses besides approve or reject. And then you click on one of them and you can see the details and do everything right from your mobile device. Sorry. I have a little bit of a cold. So my favorite option is being able to do approvals right from within Teams. I'm pretty partial to Teams. Just like Flow, I've been using Teams since it first came out, and that's where I'm doing a lot of my work. And if I need to approve something, I'd just rather have it happen in Teams. So there's a couple of options for that. One is you can use an action in Flow to post your approval in an adaptive card by the Flow bot. And the other is you can use the Flow app that's part of Teams, where you can see all of your flows and all of your approvals in one place, and you can approve from there. The only thing is if you're not using the adaptive card action, you're not going to get your notifications about your approvals in Teams. They'll just be there for you. So from the Flow app, by this I mean flow.microsoft.com, or I guess maybe it's powerautomate.com now, I'm not sure yet, but when you go to the Flow app, it'll quickly show you all of the requests you have pending. And then you can also click in and have that be your main screen of all your approvals. And in the Approval Center, you can see all of your received approvals, all of the ones you've sent, and then all of your Flow history, which is supposed to only be around for 30 days. But I've heard mixed reviews of how long people actually have their Flow history stay around. It's never been under 30 days, though. Some people have it stay around longer, including me. I'm not sure why. So now I've been talking a lot. Let's start demoing. Okay, I'm going to first show you the simplest one, and I'm going to show you how quickly you can set up an integrated flow in a modern SharePoint list. So here I am. I've never set up flows on this library. Library. I'm going to configure flow. Oh, sorry. My bad. Thank you, whoever told me that. Okay. Yeah, so all I did, let me just go back. I clicked here and configure flows, and I will turn that on, and then here I can choose request sign-off or content approval. You can't have both of these turned on. It really wouldn't make sense to have them both turned on. So I'm going to leave request sign off and save. So now, if I just want to get someone to take a look at this document, I can click on it and then click on the flow drop down, click request sign off. The first time you do it, it makes you click create flow, but it won't do it after the first time. And here's where I can choose who will approve. And for the request sign-off, you can't, like, as a site owner, just decide I only want them to go to this one person. You can't configure it that way. People will always have the chance to choose anyone from the site to be able to be listed as an approver. But it's different for content approval and page approval. It's just this request sign-off one that's built to be like really ad hoc. So I'm gonna put myself, the note. So it'll show you here that it started. And refresh my email, just came up on my phone. Here's, please approve my Ignite extract. So I can approve from here. And then going back to that list, it went, see, it changed from pending, but now that I've approved it, it changed to approved. So just really simple, but think about like the time and communications back and forth with someone that can save once you get used to using that. All right, now I'm going to show a little bit something more fancy. So the idea here is you've got a marketing team, maybe some interns that do a lot of social media stuff for your large company, but you want to sign off. You want to have, there's a couple people who want to take a look at these messages before they go out to the whole world and risk your brand looking crazy or something. You want to take a quick look at what goes out there. So you've got a list in SharePoint, and when you click New, this is where they can type their message. So this is what their message, they're submitting, and it's going to actually get sent as an approval in Teams. It's going to go first to, let me pull up the flow. It's going to go first to the marketing manager, and then if it's approved, then it goes to the communications manager. And we'll take a better look at this. But so I've gotten a flow card. So let me go into Teams because this is my first level of review. So this has gone right into my flow chats. So I don't have any chats with other people because this is just my demo one, but this will just be mixed along with all my other chats. And now I can just take action right here where I'm doing all of my work anyway. Like, okay, that sounds fine. I'm going to get another one because I'm the approver for both the steps. And so once I approve this, since I'm the second level of approval now, it's going to automatically post it to Twitter. All right, so now it's using this connector, and it posts automatically. There's like a few limitations. You can't use the @ to @mention somebody. That's an actual Twitter blocks flow from doing that. But you can do something really quick and go through a couple levels of approval. So let me open up the steps of this flow. So it's triggering when an item is created. It's creating an approval, and here's all these options that I talked about. So approval type, so you can have it be approve or reject, or you can choose to pick custom responses. So Again, like complete or incomplete, any other terms you want to use. And you can choose whether everybody must approve it or just the first person to respond is good enough. So you pick who you want to assign it to. It has to be email addresses. For now, I think it has to be people in your organization, but it was announced that guests will be able to be part of your approval soon, but they'll have to have a license. They'll have to have an Office 365 license and given guest access from your administrator. And so here's where you put the details about the approval. You can add a link to the item. And then there's these advanced options. And if you want this to be able to be reassigned, you can leave this yes, or you can change it to no. And also enable notifications. You're going to want to turn this to no if you're using adaptive cards, because for some reason, for right now, since this is a little bit new still, if someone takes action on a approval that has an email or that has an adaptive card, so they go into the email and approve it, and there's an adaptive card sitting there, they don't talk to each other, so it can mess it up, and you'll get a failure on your adaptive card. So basically, this one setting, if you're going to use adaptive cards in Teams, turn off the emails for now. Hopefully, that'll be fixed. All right. So here's where I'm posting the adaptive card. Where did I get this from, right? Like, this is actual JSON code that's making that card look pretty. And I got it from dynamic content that's being pulled from this approval. So again, you can only do it on the create and approval action, not create and wait for approval. But all you have to do is click and then add this adaptive card piece, and that's actually the JSON for the approval card. So it's really, really easy. You don't even have to use the adaptive card designer. And so I have a condition here based on the first approval. So I only want to send it to the communications manager if it's equal to approved. So if they approve, then I want to send it on. If they reject it, then I'm going to update the SharePoint item, and I'm going to send a message letting everyone know that it got rejected and why. So then this is just kind of repeat steps. So again, create an approval, post the adaptive card using the adaptive card from dynamic content, and then if they approve, then I post the tweet. If they don't, I update the item and send a rejection email. So this is not only an example of a sequential approval, it's an example of how to use adaptive cards in Teams. And now I'm going to show you, it's not quite as exciting, but it's a parallel approval. And it's for a pretty common business scenario of taking leave requests. I've worked at a lot of different companies that have very, very different ways of handling leave requests and vacation requests and things like that. And what I've found is that there's usually some big system that's really in charge for keeping track of this information, but there's a lot of emailing around and asking of a few people that happens in this sort of micro process. So depending on the size of your organization, you may have this much more robust kind of set thing, but you also might have just within your internal team these smaller micro processes, and I would say this would be a good solution for something like that. Or if you really are a team of like 5 and just need a way to track your leave requests. So let me show you the flow first. And this is a parallel approval, so 2 different groups need to approve it, and they can approve at the same time. Here we go. And in case you haven't done too much with Flow, this shows you all of the runs for that flow and all of the connections that you have that are part of it. I'm going to edit, and that's where you'll see the steps. So I'm triggering when an item is created in this calendar. And then you can see I have a parallel branch. So I've got two approval groups that are happening at the same time. Program managers and managers, they're pretty much identical. They're going to link to the item and just send an approval. And then, based on whether they approve or not, I have a condition here. So if the response is equal to approve, then I'm going to update the calendar item in SharePoint to show that they have approved it and the approver name, and the same thing for eject. And then send an email to the person who made the request. And so this other side is the same thing. So you just have this same scenario, parallel branches happening at the same time. So same thing. Now I'm going to go back to the leave request calendar. I'm going to go into December because it's going to get holiday time. Going to put my name as the person requesting and then entering the dates. This is nothing spectacular here. My comments, PTO request, and save. So now, since I'm the approver, I'll get two notifications at once. Let me do these ones from the approval center. So to get to your approvals, you click on action items and then approvals here. Yeah, so here we go. Leave requests from program manager, leave requests from manager, and I'm going to go ahead and approve. And again, I don't know of a way to make this required using the flow approvals. And so that'll send an email, and it'll update the item. With the person who approved and the decision. The reason it might be important to mark down who the approver is if you have like 7 people, like 7 different managers, and you're only waiting for one of them to approve, you probably want to know which one it is. If you're making them all have to approve something, then you would know who they are most likely. All right. Yeah, you see the approve buttons in the email. Let me, actually it's going to say that an action already happened on it, probably. Oh, yeah. Well, you can see it for a minute, but it automatically cleans itself up so that you won't just take care of it in your mobile app and then start clicking around in your email and get confused. Yeah? Yeah, that was from a recent change of going from just having approver reject or having these different custom options. So with the custom options, it'll say outcome. At least that's my understanding of it. All right, let me go back to my slides. So just to kind of wrap up, the main benefits that you're going to see when you really start automating your approval processes within your organization is you're going to see less manual error, because we send these things all around, or we have paper forms, or we end up searching for which one did we approve when, and things like that, and it just will lead to manual error and wasted time because we're not tracking these things. They're not the most important thing on our mind usually. We're busy doing 10 other things, and we don't want to have to stop and be on the phone with 2 other managers like, hey, who approved it? Where is this in the approval process? It wastes time, especially for more complex ones, and especially doing things on paper. If you have to scan things and sign them, I mean, I've done a lot of government consulting, so I know that it still happens. The visibility, so a lot of these things can kind of fly under the radar, right? If you want visibility into a process, if you want metrics into a process, like how many leave requests are being taken, how long does it take to get an expense report approved, how long are we taking in a procurement process that 4 different groups need to look into. You get that visibility and you can get those business insights. Also, if you have any type of compliance reasons, having things automated will help you there. I already said paperless, but just clearly defined accountability as well. So when you've got new people coming on board, they don't, it can be confusing. Who's supposed to review this? Who's supposed to review that? How, do I send it to them after? Well, all they're going to need to know is here's where you submit your request, and then the process takes care of itself. So there's a lot of benefits. Again, this is one of my favorite talks to do as far as flow. I really appreciate you taking the time to come to my session. I'm glad my voice stayed the entire time. Here's my information where you can connect with me if you want to talk about flow or Teams. And again, just like every session, please fill out an evaluation for the session. Happy to hear your feedback. Thank you, everybody.